G'day guys, welcome to the Joshin-Strike podcast. I am Josh here, joined by Mingovi from Vantage, RGL or Vantage Navy, now going to be probably Vantage later on. How you been going today, Mingovi?
Not too bad, man. Just chilling out.
How you been enjoying the ECL playoffs so far? Like, you can sit back, watching playoffs, what have you taken out of it so far? Like, what teams you're liking, what teams you're not liking?
Um, Kind of expected results. I think house bets are coming into form, so that's pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of sucks we don't get to play, but it is what it is.
Yeah, because you obviously Vantage finished fifth last season. I'm pretty sure. Were you in that iteration of Vantage? Dude, you've been in a lot of teams, so.
A lot of teams. I haven't been in that many teams. No, I wasn't in that iteration.
No. But overall, like I say, you came onto the scene in CS2 in particular during a pretty interesting time. I feel it was like, when did you start playing CS2 or like come into the ECL scene in particular?
I played once. I played for when I first started like getting into competitive was like 2021.
Yep.
That was a season with Court of Guard, which was Eddie's team, Viridian.
Yep.
And then I played a couple seasons with Warriors or like
Yep.
BBBM, BCBS.
Yep.
That was pretty fun.
That was a fun fucking name to try and pronounce. You guys did me very dirty in that one. I was just like fucking British Broadcasting Network. That's what I just called you guys in the end because you guys BBC.
Yeah, I can't say that one on broadcast what it stands for, but it's a good laugh. And then I took a break in 22 and then decided to come back in 23. Then I've been playing since.
So coming back in 23, obviously I'm trying to think of what team did you play for in 23, because you came back in 23 and you were just like the grandfather of Overpass. You beat, I think it was Bad News Kangaroos, or was it Rooster on Overpass? Like, it was one of the good teams on it. And that just really stamped your ground.
It was Encore's roster at the time, or LFO.
Yep.
I think that was when Vantage started up. I joined, it had like DPR and Vision and a couple other people. And then we somehow managed to get Vantage on board. And yeah, that was that iteration that kept changing the fifth. But yeah, that was the first team back then.
Yeah. So what was it like beating Encore back in those days? For some reason, I don't know why I thought it was like Rooster or Vertex. I'm just like, they're good at Overpass too. It's like, it's one of those teams. Like, how was it beating that team, like Encore and Encore on Overpass?
It's definitely pretty hard feeling. I think when I first joined the team, like I joined to IGL them, but they're also a team that had only just, I think they only just finished the season of CGI as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like none of those guys had actually played anything too much.
Yep.
And I think we also had, could be wrong, but I think we had Kobe subbing in for that game, and that's what led him to get onto the team after we beat them. So yeah.
So that iteration of Vantage in particular, like, were you expecting anything out of it in particular? And also, are you happy with how it went, and also for the progress of the other players in that team?
I think progressively it went pretty decent. I think we had a fourth in champs one season, and then I think in like 3 out of the 4 CCTs series we played, we ended up in a top 4 spot. So I think for what we were at the time, we were doing pretty good.
Yep.
In terms of progression, I don't know. It was kind of like, it was definitely waves. We definitely had a lot of motivation issues at the time, and we're also just like, my understanding of like just calling and like prepping and stuff was not as good as it is now either. So that probably hindered it.
What was the biggest issue with like motivation? And yeah, let's just talk about motivation first. What's the biggest issue with motivation? Like, what sort of it was, just getting to the server or getting the prac, or?
I think it's like, I think people were turning up to prac. I think it's definitely it's like an out of server thing where you just got to do it on your own time. Just like people finding the motivation to watch demos or like doing aim prac outside of team time.
Yeah,
that sort of stuff.
Yep. And also, you talk about the IGL stuff. What was the hardest thing to learn as a new IGL? Because you were green, right? The moment you IGL'd an Overpass and won that, right? Like, you weren't like a veteran or anything like that.
Not a veteran. I definitely ended up gelling in a lot of my teams.
Yep.
I think. What was the question again? Sorry.
What was the biggest thing you struggled with, like, being an IGL, especially when you were pretty green, I assume, going into the overpass?
It's kind of hard to pinpoint. I think
Yep.
one of the biggest things I've learned over the years is probably, I don't know. I think one of the issues I had with the Vantage iteration initially was that we had too many voices on the team.
Yep.
So between me and then Dang has his own idea of how he likes to play the game. And then I think Kobe also has his own idea of how to play the game.
So sorry, who's Dane again? I know Kobe, but who's...
Sorry, not Raid.
Not Raid yet, yep. Dang, oh, sorry, yep.
Yeah, so at the time, I was pretty open to, like, kind of adjusting how I was, like, calling or how I, like, wanted to perceive the game. And I think over time, I kind of realized it's, like, it's one of those things where it's, like, you kind of have to just, like, trust your gut. And it's, like, if people don't, like, see the same way, then obviously it's just what it is.
Yeah.
You can't really give too much room to the players, otherwise they kind of just lose respect for you, and
yeah,
I don't know, they just don't trust the calling at that point.
Yeah. So is that the hardest thing in particular as an RGL, is like getting everyone onto the system or trusting the system at least of what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I'd say getting everybody on the same page. Definitely, like, I don't know if there's, like, too many, like, set styles anymore. I think it's pretty fluid now, CS.
Yep.
I think organization is, like, a big thing. I think one of the things, like, having Hudson or Mike around as a coach is, like, we can kind of split the workload, and, like, he also just has a really good way of organizing things, and it just makes everything more efficient.
Yeah.
So, like, we're just not wasting time.
I'm just going to say German background, 100%. Listening to him talk about the German scene, and German's all about efficiency, mate.
Yeah, no, that's, like, the biggest thing, like, I think Mike's brought for this team. It's just, like, how efficient, like, stuff is just laid out, and you just get more stuff done.
Yeah, what's the difference with Mike coaching and whatnot? Like, what does he bring to the team overall? 2 seconds, gotta turn on my light. I just realized my lighting's so bad. But yeah, what does Mike bring to the team that you value quite a lot?
Yeah, I think, like I said, organization, like, the way everything is structured is, like, very nice. I don't know, I haven't had too many other coaches, but having like a second voice there is, like, really good as well. Especially just with the experience that Mike has. It's like you kind of hit a point where if I'm the one that's kind of, like, criticizing people, it kind of, I don't know, it kind of, like, backlashes onto the player eventually. But when the coach is kind of saying it, it's like a lot of the, I don't know, maybe not animosity, but, like, the irritation. It's like you'll just take the coach's word, because he sees everything, like, he's the experienced player, like, you don't question it. But if it's, like, player to player, sometimes it's like it's not always there, where they're just like, yeah, sometimes people will question it.
Could it be the fact that that do you have to handle, like, two sort of duties, like, trying to be, like, a leader, but also, what am I trying to say? You're trying to have a relationship with the player, while the coach doesn't have to have a relationship with the player in the server, per se.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. Definitely. I think we're all in good terms with Mike, though.
Yeah. Oh no, as in, like, he doesn't have, like, he's not focusing on playing as well. That's what I'm saying. Like, and working off these people in the server.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, yeah. No, I agree.
Yep. Also, as well, like, obviously with Vantage, I think you're a place towards the end there. What was it like going into KZG?
That's a different beast. I think it's pretty fun, to be honest. I think it's, like, great group of guys. The core I was joining into, I think they were playing together for, like, a year and a half or something, probably prior to me. So, I think it helped that, like, I think we played, like, we had a really scuffed season because I think Payne got picked up by Mindfreak not too long after I joined.
Yeah.
But I think it definitely helped that we ended up having a couple Melbourne lands just to like meet up, like I guess kind of like bond and get to know each other a bit better. And definitely a great group of guys. I think there is a big difference in terms of just like the hours we were playing though. So like I think the Vantage team was very like, it was more business, like maybe the best way to put it was like more business oriented, like in terms of like performing, whereas like these guys it's a bit more relaxed, like we're having fun. You know, the goal is obviously to win, but it's not like do or die kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's less pressure overall. It's like kind of like, let's have a few brewskis and, well, not brewskis per se, but let's have a bit of fun. Let's see how far we can push it. But there's no real set goal in mind.
Yeah, not for I don't think it was like for a while. Yeah.
Yep. So
I think it was like not till after one of the Melbourne lands, or like coming so close to qualifying, where it's like, oh shit, like maybe we can do it, and then it's like the motivation was like an all-time high then. So
yeah. So what sort of Melbourne lands did you go to, like with the KZG boys, other than ESL Challenger, because you said lands?
There was that TGX Melbourne land that we played in. I think we ended up coming third in that one. Yeah, it was just those two lands pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. And like overall, like what was it like getting that ESL Challenger Melbourne invite after being eliminated, being so close to the end?
Pretty hyped. I mean, we learned that we got the spot like, I think the event was like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I think we got like someone emailed us like, I think it was like Friday night at like 11 p.m. We're like, is this real? And then like we were all like hanging around. I don't know what we're doing, but like yeah, it was pretty hot. Everyone was like, holy shit. Pack your bags.
And how was it like playing on stage, considering your first match was against MRBR?
To be honest, I don't think any of us actually had any nerves like coming into the stage. I think once you're playing, you're kind of locked in. There's also a lot of lighting coming into you, so you can't even. It's kind of hard to look out, to be honest.
Can't even see anyone, mate. What crowd? There's no crowd here.
It was fairly dead on the first day, to be fair, as well.
Yeah, it always is on DreamHack, because I've been to like so many DreamHacks in Europe. They open at 10 a.m. and the first game starts at 10 a.m. So it's just like good luck.
Yeah, I think the call-up was pretty late, so I don't think we had been playing like too much like those past couple weeks as well, just between work and uni and stuff. But I think once it happened, it's like I kind of tried to just come up with like some game plans, and it worked for the first 4 rounds, and then after that, they kind of just started running at us and mechanically just diffed us.
Yeah, I'd say overall, like, how was it on that second round in particular? Because you guys won pistols. How was it particularly when they forced up against you on the CT side of Inferno?
Like it actually started off really well. Like in terms of like what I watched, like in terms of how they play a pretty structured. It's like pretty tight, basic playbook, but it's just really refined. And like the way they were playing, if they kept that up, I think I don't want to say we could have had a good chance, but we could have at least got more runs. And then I think once it hit like the 5th round when they had a bye, they kind of just started disrespecting us and like running at us. And then at that time, like we actually, the players didn't really know what to do at that point.
So I guess overall, I think they were very arrogant and forced by in that second round. And I was just like so happy that you guys just put them in their place. I'm like, yeah, you got to put arrogance down like that. And they started respecting you a lot after that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was MR12 by then.
Yep, it was.
Yeah. I think most teams are opting for second round buys now. I think you kind of have to, just with the economy.
But like, what was it? Because I also saw Housebets do this as well. Like, Housebets bought full MP9s after a loss in the pistols. Like, what makes that second buy have to be done now on the CT side? Like, is it because like you're trying? Like, what's the reasoning for it from your point of view?
Well, the way I see it, the first thing is like if you were to save second round and go into a third round, you're just going into at most like M4s with maybe like half a belt of util, and then if you lose that, that kind of spirals into like 5 rounds.
Yep.
Whereas if you force second round, you can kind of have like a set strat or like maybe like a gamble stack. If it works out, you win the round. It doesn't work out, you technically be saving the next round anyway, so you just try it again.
Yeah.
And then by the 4th round, you'll at least have like an AWP and like full rifles and stuff. So yeah, you get it like a proper full buy by the 4th round instead of the 5th.
Is there any like absolute set plan that you could have in mind in particular? Like, like maybe a scout of a play and a few MP9s, or is it just like see what you can get with the 5.7s and whatever you can afford?
Depends how structured your team is, I guess, and the map. I think most teams will come in with like a set, like we're gonna, on average buy these, have these set of needs at least, and then like we'll do this into this kind of thing. I don't think it's ever like, unless you're like a pug team where you might just like spread out, see what you can get and hope for the best. Yeah, I don't think you really see that too much in MR12 anymore.
So with KZG overall, because obviously I think you left that team as well. Like, how was that? In the end with KZG, like how did that journey end, as per se? Like, is it more mutual, respectful sort of thing?
I'd like to think there's no hard feelings there.
Yep.
I think the only thing I ever aimed for, especially towards the end, was just like pretty results driven, and obviously not things working out, like we just parted ways just because we had different ideas of how we think the team should have gone going forward. Yeah, I don't think I like to think there's no bad blood there.
Yeah, so it's like more of a different of philosophy, because that's what I meant. More of a difference of philosophy on like how the game should be played, I suppose.
I think there's part of that. I think there's also just like the trajectory of the team. Mainly like maybe the players, for example.
Yeah.
Like getting into it, but yeah.
Yeah, because obviously sometimes they want to do a different way, and sometimes people will step up the plate to become an IGL as well, and you're just like, yeah, sure, that's fine. Is that sort of the idea for it, or is it completely different?
As far as I'm aware, I know for the RMR they wanted to fall into like a looser play style, which wasn't something that really suited me. So Bailey took over calling that to give that a go. I think the main thing was that sometimes it's like players just have like IRL commitments and work and stuff, and you just don't have the time.
Yeah.
And for me, at least, it's like if I want to give it a good go, I'd want everyone to be like pulling their weight as well. And obviously, if you can't pull the weight, like I'd want to find people that can.
Yeah. Also, during those times when you're out of Vantage and out of KCG, do you have any other approaches from any other teams in particular that like wanted you on board or anything like that?
Well, outside of the Vantage one, I think after the Vantage, like the first Vantage iteration, I think I trialed for KZG, like, and then I was on the team within like 2 weeks. So I didn't really go LFT too much. I think for this one, after the KZG stuff, after KZG, I think it was pretty much the same. I think I trialed for a couple like open teams as like maybe as the projects, like I think Canon event was one of them, where like when crowds were still on the team, and then otherwise Mike did approach me pretty early, asking if I wanted to IGL his projects, and then we kind of just brainstormed what players we'd want, and then I just kind of hit him up, and it kind of like came along pretty quick, to be honest. Yeah.
I'm gonna say, because overall, so yourself and Licky as well, were newer IGLs. Like, is there anything that makes IGLing in Australia a lot harder compared to other regions? Because I feel like Australian IGLs get seemingly get piled on with a lot of responsibilities, and then they are moved on very quickly. Because I think we had this happen to Rory as well with the current Mind Freak roster. Used to be Elemental, where they picked up Tux right away as an IGL and dropped Rory.
I think players in general will just value experience above all else. I think it's very hard to find experienced players to kind of lift a team up.
Yeah.
Because it's like a difference between like, if I'm joining KZG, it's like I'm probably going to be teaching them more than they're teaching me.
Yeah.
Like obviously I'm still learning, but it's like that sort of stuff where it's like if you have like a more experienced player than you,
Yeah.
you're always just going to progress faster.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of just like accelerates you.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't know, like looking outside in as an opinion, I think OC IGLs would probably have a pretty hard time.
Yeah.
Just because like you don't have that experience, like kind of like teach you to like show you the ropes pretty much. But there's also a lot of time constraints for OCE team.
Yeah.
Like on average, like your E and A teams are probably playing like 6 hours a day. Like, they have 6 months like to like kind of build the strat book in, run the strats. It's like for us, it's like, our 6 months is like half their time, like we're probably playing like 3-4 hours at most a day. And like even then, like we're only playing 3-4 days a week.
Yep.
Like no matter how structured, or how thought out your playbook is, it's like it doesn't mean anything if your players can't run it correctly.
Is it like is it kind of like you're always like progressively behind North America and Europe because they can spend more time kind of thing?
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just like you need reps on stuff, and like that just takes time. Like you can't, like you can go over a strat and teach it as much as you like, but like it only takes like someone to fumble like a flash or a smoke, and suddenly like the round is like in shambles. And then like I feel like IGL's copped that a lot, where it's like I've definitely had situations where it's like people think the strats aren't great, for example, and then it's like I have a look over the strats, looked at how we ran it, we didn't run it right, and then we fix it up, run it the next game, it goes perfectly, and then suddenly like the strat's good. That's like an example. Yeah, like it doesn't matter how good the strat book is if you can't run stuff right, and then you might blame the IGL because he's not dropping like a 1.1 rating or something and carrying the team.
Yeah. So also with an IGL, you also said you looked for players with HUDs, for example. What sort of aspects or attributes were you looking in players in particular? Like, any particular attribute that you preferred over all others?
I think motivation, like kind of like the hunger to play, I think is like a big thing. I think that was like the first and foremost, like obviously, and just like someone's mechanics.
Yep.
Like, when we look at Jinx and Alec and see like how much they've played so far as new players, like their progression is like like so quick.
Yeah.
And they have so much time as well to put into the game. Like they're very, very motivated to play. It's like if we're playing one night, we see some issues and we ask them to fix it, like they'll come back the next day and like have it sorted, learn some new util or whatever. So that was like a big thing. And then kind of just like seeing the project as a long-term thing as well. I think a lot of OCE teams will make rosters like as the season's starting. You're building your playbook while you're playing the officials, and then it's just not refined. It doesn't go well for obvious reasons, and then suddenly you're making changes.
Yeah. I gotta say, kind of like canon event. I could say that because that's the only team that comes to mind of making the playbook on the fly during the ECL season.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of teams like that.
Yeah.
But we're also, you just have a lot of pug teams as well. So that's what it is.
What's your main goal that you got in mind? Like, do you have a kind of like a business plan kind of thing for like every certain period on where you guys want to be with this project?
I mean, we've got some short-term goals. So like, obvious one is like just to go through open, win it. Obviously, it's to set some fun stuff, just like going through the whole thing without losing a game. That's something I set for myself and the team, and I think every kind of team of like, I guess our caliber or like ECL team is like striving for like overseas spots and stuff like that, and then also just like trying to get as a consistent team, and like not like we want to be a team that's like fighting for like two, like first, second, or third, like consistently, and not a team that's like on a good day gets it.
Yeah. So you want to be more consistent. get that overseas qualifier spot or get close to it, like be in the hunt at least for it, and obviously win ESL Open to get promoted.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's kind of like where we're at the moment.
Yeah, that leads to
And
that leads to the first thing in
yeah.
particular. I can say, how did it go with the Extreme Slam qualifier? You guys performed very well.
Yeah, I think definitely a bummer how we went on the second day for the closed quals, but
Mm-hmm.
like we came into that like event with like 2 weeks of practice, like we got through 4 maps with 2 days on each map.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else was like we had to play maps that we just hadn't practiced as well, and somehow did all right. But I think we were overall pretty happy that we got a top 4, but we were pretty bummed out that we just didn't show up on the second day for the
Mm-hmm.
rematch against Idle 4. So that was pretty sad, but yeah, we pretty happy.
Yeah. Because it sounds like that was your first event together, 2 weeks, as you said before. Like, what was the motivation for the team going in, especially how the first upper bracket round went when you took down Art of War? Like, you took down a big team. How was it?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, we didn't really have too much expectations. I think we were expecting to make close calls. I think anything after that was like a bonus.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm always like pretty confident in my teams. I kind of like we'll just joke around and just like, yeah, we're gonna qualify kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
Obviously we probably don't, but yeah.
Yep. Also, I've got to say as well, this is not the only esport that you've been professional in. You've been professional in Fortnite as well. What's the difference between like being professional in Fortnite and then being professional in CS2 in particular? Like, what did you do in Fortnite?
What do you mean by do? Just like how things ran,
Yeah,
or
yeah, like from a professional point of view.
I mean, I started playing Fortnite when it like pretty much was in its like baby stages of like esports. So I
Mm-hmm.
think for the first year, like a lot of us like we were like holding out, and like I think the first year there were just nothing competitive.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's not much difference. It's kind of like, I mean, I guess there's a bit more players to like organize, but it's like for scrims, it's like, maybe it's like a 6 p.m. start on a Discord,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like first come, first serve for like I don't know, I guess like the better players, and then everybody hops in a server and you're scrimming for like a few hours.
Did you play solo or
Um,
duos? Like, what was the competitive structure those days?
Solo duos mainly when I was playing. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I don't think trios was around,
Who was your duo? Who
but
was your main duo?
um, I think for a majority of the time I played, it was a guy that was called A1 Beats.
Yep.
He just kind of played for fun, and then I think I had a guy called First that was on Icon of Chiefs, and then I actually played duos for a season with Alec as well on my team at the moment. So
Okay, so obviously you can say I think the last Vantage roster had fun on Prop Hunt. Okay. What's the game of choice that's not CS2 for this iteration of Vantage? And why is it Fortnite?
what's the choice? The game choice? We
Yeah,
don't. I don't think we play anything else but CS. I
come,
mean,
come on. No way you guys don't play Fortnite. You got 3 Fortnite players in there.
I think those guys might play it with like Damio and stuff, but I haven't touched Fortnite for years.
uh,
I think the only other game I've touched recently was Pummel Party, probably a few hours ago, but that's
oh,
about it.
how much do you like Pummel Party? Is it just like Mario? I know it's an indie version of Mario Party, but how much do you like it, mate?
Um, that's pretty fun. You come back to it once a month with some boys and
Mm-hmm.
have a bit of fun, and then yeah, that's pretty much it though. It's not something you can like play a lot.
Yeah. Ah. I'd say overall, like with Fortnite in particular, like how high did you go in Fortnite in particular? Did you get to a similar level like in here now in CS2, or was it more amateur or more like to top ranks?
Um, I think I think for most of the time I was playing it, I think we were considered like a top 5 to 10 like duo, I'd like to say. Like I said, there weren't like too many events. Like the earlier the earlier lands that we went to were like it was like internet cafes in like Melbourne, and I think it was like maybe Brisbane. But then you'd link up and play online anyway, so it's not really a LAN.
Yeah.
And then I did play like the first Australian Open that they had going for like solos. Didn't do too well in that, but I don't know. It's very hard because it's like the game is just so unrefined back then, because it's like the PCs just can't handle like 30 to 40 people alive at the same time. Everyone's building, everyone's shooting.
Yeah.
Like the game's just freezing, you're rubber banding, you're like phasing through stuff. It was rough, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so you got to that, was that solos? Is that was that the tournament at the Australian Open?
Yeah, it was.
How was that as a tournament overall? Because I remember like a lot of people going there for it. I think Valkyrie was there as well, and like a lot of big content creators, if I'm not mistaken.
And I don't remember too much. I know it was a bit crazy because it's like they just have like 80 PCs set up in the middle of like the stadium, and I don't know, it's kind of weird from CS. Like back then, like Fortnite being new, it's like just a bunch of kids and their parents in the crowd like hyping you up, and it's like, I don't know, it's a bit awkward, especially when you have to do like a lap around before you get to your PCs and stuff like that.
Where was it? Like where was the PCs? Like was like a Chonk Blanc in the middle of Rod Laver Arena or Market Court or what?
I don't know which one's the bigger one.
I think Rod Laver is the bigger one.
I want to say it might have been Rod Laver, but it's like, yeah, the PCs were all set up in the middle. I think they kind of had different levels to them, like in terms of like setting it up.
So was it just like rows of computers in the middle of a tennis court or something like that?
Yeah, so it was like kind of in like a square. It's like they just had rows of PCs of like, I think it was like 4 or 5 like as a square setup, and then it just went out layer by layer.
Jeez. How was the experience overall? You just don't remember too much of it, because I know it was a while ago.
Yeah, I don't remember too much of it. I think that was like kind of my first like big kind of LAN. I think I was pretty nervous at the time, and stuff wasn't going, like the games didn't go too well, and like I don't know, the PCs, maybe not the PC, but the game was pretty crap as well.
Yeah. Well, what do you like? Do you take anything from those Fortnite tournaments into like CS2 in particular?
Nothing particularly in terms of like tactical. I think when I was playing Fortnite back then, I guess it kind of gave like ironically, just like a decent work ethic. Because like most of the players that played Fortnite Pro back then, self included, like I think most of us were kind of playing it like full time. It was kind of like 8-10 hours a day, and like there was a big like, because you'd have to play like your scrims and a few like comp games competitive, but then you'd also have to do a big push on content as well, because that was like the main way to make a name for yourself back then.
What sort of content did you do back in the day? Obviously, I remember Ninja being a big name and whatnot. Like, how did you push content? Was it like the trick shots, or how to do things, or like explaining strategy or whatnot?
I think I dove into a couple things. They like some points they had like creator events where it's like your pros play with like duo up with a creator and you're versing each other. We had one of those. I think I kind of leaned into like very heavy like highlight / montage stuff where it's like I just spend the day just like grinding out like solo squads, which is just like 1v4 every squad kind of thing, just farming clips like that. I think that was the main stuff I was doing.
Also, with the content creator, like who do you play with in that sort of tournament?
I don't really remember. I think the only name I remember off the top of my head was like Barry Nova, and I want to say I did something with Loser Fruit because I've got her on my Twitter for something.
Okay.
I don't remember, but yeah, I think I played squads. I don't know if you know Radius, maybe.
Nah.
And then I think it was Loser.
I've heard maybe not. I've heard of Radius. I've heard of Radius before, but I think I've only heard of him. I want to say
it was. I'm not too sure. And then it was with Loser Fruit and someone else as a creator.
What's different, like playing professional Fortnite compared to playing professional CS2? Because obviously you had your scrims and your time and whatnot. Like, what was the major difference between like coming from Fortnite to CS2 in like practicing and whatnot?
Hmm, less RNG. I think it's pretty luck based in Fortnite, to be honest. You
Yeah.
can, you know, everyone's kind of like, I guess, like claiming territory in the map to get like starts to kind of avoid the RNG. But then, like, if someone wants to contest you, it's like you're kind of hoping you get like a lucky drop when you know, first land. Whereas
Yeah.
CS, it's like you don't have that factor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's very heavy mechanics as well for Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
It's like very aim heavy. Everyone's kind of pumping Kovacs, pumping aim labs for like an hour a day, kind of
Mm-hmm.
high sense flicking everywhere. You don't, it's not the same for CS.
Yeah. See, I remember overall, I remember like the amount of third party that happened in Fortnite. Like one of the tournaments I'm watching was at TwitchCon, and there was this one guy in the farmlands, like hiding in the reeds, and there was like two people fighting above him, and it was such a comical sort of setup. Basically, he was sitting there for like about 10 minutes or so, 5 to 6 minutes, of waiting for one of these guys to kill each other, and he was like trying to dodge all their shit while being stuck in the farmland. It was like very humorous to watch.
Yeah, that's the thing with that comp. You just can't take long fights. You have to either
Yeah,
kill someone in the first like 30 seconds or you just got to get out.
yeah,
Otherwise, if you're spending time too long, it's like you're either wasting away or you're like materials or like someone's just going to come in, you know, knock your builds down, you both die and GG.
mm-hmm. What was one of the most comical ways have you died or killed someone in Fortnite?
Oh, I don't think I can remember that far back. Yeah.
I remember killing someone with full damage by taking away the foundation so everything broke so they both died.
Yeah. I think the worst feeling is definitely you're in a fight with someone 1v1. You end up fighting for too long. Someone just comes up under you, breaks your stuff, and you both die. That's probably the worst. That's probably the worst feeling.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the other one is like maybe like when you're in the end game and people are just like you're just trying to build, trying to stay alive, and like people are just lagging around and they just like somehow end up in your box and you're dead.
Yep.
Call it a day.
Mm-hmm. What do you see yourself in like the future for CS in particular? Like, you know, where you want to be in the next 1 or 2 years in CS too, like for your team and your own
Oh
progression as
god.
well.
Ideally, in the next year, I'd like to think we're like a top 2 regional team. that's the that's the goal.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll get to our first topic with our interview. Oh, not with, to close the interview for the moment. We'll get to our first topic, which is going to be a pretty good one, actually, which is ESL Challenger Atlanta. Obviously, Flyquest won that. And what do you think about that one in particular with Flyquest winning it? Does that bring motivation to like Australia as a region, or to even your own team as a region, that, hey, if Flyquest can do it, we can definitely do it?
Um, I don't know if players are necessarily thinking like that. I think the
Mm.
players are kind of just always kind of cheering on any teams that go overseas. Like you kind of want them to do well because
Mm-hmm.
it always ends up coming back positive into the scene, and you know the more opportunities everyone gets, the more experience everyone gets to build.
Also, going into the tournament with ASL Challenger Atlanta, now you had teams like M80, you also had Saw as well. Did you really count like FlyQuest getting deep into this tournament?
Um,
Because I'll tell you right now, I didn't.
hmm,
Because you had Big Saw and M80. I'm like, well, surely one of those two are going to win it.
I expected them to make playoffs. I didn't think they were going to beat Saw, to be honest, just because Saw have been in like pretty good form, but obviously there's probably some internal things happening with that team now that they've got 2 players that have been benched.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, I don't think I saw them winning it. I definitely saw them making playoffs there.
Mm-hmm. Like I say, like, what was the point that you felt like, hey, FlyQuest could have really decent shot at this thing? Like, for me in particular, was that stomp against Betboom. That's what I'm like, they're going to make it quite far.
Yeah, I think after I looked at the score for the end of the night and the 2-8 their bracket, I think Saw with a big win. I
Mm,
think that for me was like, yeah, they're going to win it. I think I
mm,
caught a bit of the Flyquest game as well, and the way they were playing was just like really refined as well. Like
mm-hmm.
Dexter, just looks like a beast.
Oh, yeah,
So
like,
yeah.
yeah, I guess I overall think Josh as well in the first map, it completely blitzed Bet Boom. But like the main reason why I think they look like they're going to win the tournament is because I always said talked about this that Flyquest like have this habit of letting other teams back into games. Like they have this like really good start, 10-2 lead, and then slowly but surely they win it like 16-14 or something like that. And they never had like a convincing win. Like that's what like was going like, you know, Flyquest need a stomp to show that they don't have those jitters anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. They should be stumping though.
Yeah.
There's just so many games you see them. They'll just be up like 10-2, 11-2, half kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't know. They just like crumble in the second
Yeah.
half. I don't know. I don't know if it's like a nerves thing maybe where
Mm-hmm.
they're like so close to winning and like maybe they're rushing to finish the rounds to try to get it over the line.
Yeah.
And then I feel like it might hit a point where it's like they might actually come back and then it like takes a full 180 and like suddenly they're playing a bit more passive, like
Mm-hmm.
trying not to like feed, but then they're not playing to win at that point. They're playing to not lose. And
Yeah.
once you're like in that like mindset, it's like it's rough.
Yeah, because Vexite also mentioned as well on his Twitter, I think it was Vexite actually, who said like basically our composure, we went from completely tragic to like heroic in seconds.
Yeah.
And
No.
I gotta say as well, like, you know, it seems to be the case of Flyquest. You know that horse meme where they have the, you know, really well drawn horse and at the end's the badly drawn horse, like the happy face. I feel like that sums up Flyquest to a fucking T, mate, because they have great start of rounds. Like I've seen the start of rounds. They get to sites, they get 2-for-1, get into site, plant the bomb. And then literally towards, you know, let's say 20 seconds into the like the bomb being planted, they turn into Fernando Torres when he was in Chelsea and fucking missed a goal. And it's just like, how? Like, you did everything so well.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's like I said, it's like
Oh,
once you kind of hit that trap of playing not lose instead of like to win, you kind of just get run over, especially in CS2 mechanics. Like you can't afford to kind of just sit there and like have the kills come to you sometimes.
is it kind of like that because of like the new saving meta where like people can get trapped in that let's play not to lose when they're trying to save for a next round or something like that? Because obviously saving's gone fucking sky high since CS2.
Yeah, I mean you just have less rounds to play with. It's like um you can't really afford to go for the rounds that you normally wouldn't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you lose two players on one side of the map and you've lost the site, it's like I don't know. In Go, like you might have like hovered around the site, kind of see if like someone ran it down and like gave
Yeah.
you an opening. Whereas like CS2, it's like get the fuck out of there,
Yeah.
cocktail, and play for the next round.
Also, got to talk about in particular one person who played very well at the event that has been heavily criticized by fucking everybody. Alistair, how do you think about his performance at the event?
Yeah, can't argue it. It's been grinding. I think probably took it a bit personal. I think after the comments he's copped, I know I saw him pugging just every day, like constantly. I think for him it's probably just a confidence thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like I say overall, like I saw it in ESL Pro League, I felt like Alistair played pretty decently in ESL Pro League. A lot of people disagree with me. They're like, he whiffed that shot one there. I'm like, yeah, Orpa's whiffed a few shots here and there, but he won a couple of rounds that were, I gotta say, like 10% chance of winning it. Like I think it was against Sangal, and Youngster dinked in, and he was on 10 HP, stuck on default on A, and he out aimed Youngster and won the round on 10 HP. Like with the AWP, he shot in the
Yeah.
chest before he hit him with the dink, and I'm just like, he shouldn't be winning that round. But everyone in my co-stream, other than the Aussies, were just railing on him, like, bro, like he's playing quite well. Like this is pretty decent. I just felt like he was getting hooksied, where like they were focusing too much on the wrong people, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I haven't really watched too much of their games, but like it's probably like kind of a recency bias thing with the rounds as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you don't really know like the guy that's running in, maybe he's done something wrong, and it's
Yeah.
like Alistair's the guy that's always put into the clutches or like the post plants, and it's like he's the last person you see, and then if he's whiffing like shots, it's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's just the guy that you got to remember at the end.
Yep. Now let's talk about a round in general. The infamous round 20 in the ESL Atlanta Challenger Grand Final. Where were you watching it? You were watching it, right?
I saw the highlight. That was really nice.
Yeah. There's a, like I said, there was a lot of miracles in that round in general. And I think the biggest miracle, a lot of people be like, oh yeah, you know, Alistair no scope to Crimbo. I think the biggest miracle was the HE grenade landing on JDC's head from Liaz.
Yeah, look, I don't remember clips that far.
So what happened?
That.
So what happened? They failed initial push into short, and I think they lost 2-for-2. Ints tried to push long doors, got bullied by Crimbo because Crimbo was just like, fuck everyone, this is big tournament, I'm going to win a trophy, I'm going to give you MVP, you know, stuff like that. So he just bullied everyone. And Liaz threw a HE grenade down towards CT, and it literally hit JDC on the head, and JDC had 45 HP. And it had to hit him on the head, otherwise he was dead. And they knew Tabson was ramp, so they threw the Molotov to ramp, killed Tabson of the burning, obviously, because Ali is just trained like a hawk on him, so if Tabson even thinks of peeking, his head blows off. And it turned it into a 2v3. And I guess I think that nade changed everything, because I don't think Liaz would have pushed out that brazenly towards Tabson if JDC stayed alive. But that's how the round played out. And then you have Riggin trying to push aggressively on short to try and catch, you know, in that transition as an IGL.
I'm looking at it now.
Yeah.
I think Big definitely fumbled the bag a bit there. I think Rigon's probably trying to rush to kind of help Tabson, not thinking he'd die because he's tucked, but he dies to a molly, and then I think definitely fumbled that round from them.
I'd say overall as well, Riggin was trying to catch a timing, because you know how sometimes you can get that little 2-second timing when you're trying to get used to a post-pipe position on site, and you get caught like not looking at an angle for a second. Because like in that scenario, they must have assumed that Alistair was looking down long, given the fact they knew Crimbo was at long doors, given that he was killed by Ints.
Yeah.
Sorry, he killed Ints, sorry.
Yeah. Like they knew they were both elbow, like they were fighting ramp. I think Rigon just ran up short when it's like they can just hear you coming, and then he hits a really nice 90-degree flick with the AWP.
I'm going to say that 1v2 of an AWP is going to be like 5 seconds that everyone's going to remember of a grand final, because that's like an epic sort of round to win in particular. Because of course he had the isolated jewels, but it's so difficult as an AWP. Like you're trapped on the A side. He had no room to really wiggle around. And to nail 2 kills like that is extraordinary. Like especially the quick scope on towards Crimbo, or no scope.
Yeah, no, I think all the shots that round were really good.
Yeah.
Just between the short kill, the jumps, short flick again, and then the no scope into the guy jumping up. Like.
Yep. Also, I was gonna say, was Haley Welch being there a factor of Alistair playing well? Is there like a Zywu factor where the air quality is going to be high, or the Hawk Tour girl's going to be there? You know, is there any little superstition about that? Like, you know, have you checked, you know, Alistair with Hawk Tour and without Hawk Tour? I don't know how to do that, but anyway.
I don't even know who Haley Welch is.
She's the Hawk Tour chick.
Oh, I don't know if that'll be running through his head. Pretty sure he's got a fiance or something, so probably not.
There's also other, you know, things as well. You know, who else? Mouse with the studio audience. You know, they can only play in the studio. But yeah, maybe that could be a thing. I'm not terribly too sure. What do you think this, you know, Flyquest winning ESL Challenger has done for the team, but also the greater Australian landscape as well? Like, you know, I think it's definitely encouraged everyone that, you know, there is a third ESL Pro League spot now.
Well, yeah, it's given 3 spots for EPL. Can't complain about that one. I think it's definitely a good confidence boost for them. Like, I don't know, you might have been 50-50 whether they'd get through the RMR coming into it, but I think after that win, like, I don't think anyone's questioning it, like qualifying for the major this time. Yeah, I think for them, big confidence booster. I think the players are stepping up in general as well. I think before you'd probably be saying like kind of ins, like pulling them over, but now it's like actual team effort.
Yeah, I was going to say as well,
Like,
because I'm trying to think, like, one of the games Inst didn't play particularly well, but, like, Vexite and Dexter and Ali really stepped up, like, in that spot. I think might have been one of the ECL games where Inst just had an absolute terrible game.
yeah, I think for me, like, I think Dexter just like really just hit a new level for that event.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, I don't. Some games I kind of watch them and it's like it kind of feels like he's kind of playing like Hooksy or like kind of running it down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you watch this event and it's like it feels a lot more controlled. Like they're really like kind of playing the mid to late rounds out a bit more and like taking advantage of like I don't know, just like the team aspect of it. I don't really know how to put it, but
So it's more like
I think
controlled aggression, as per se, instead of just being
it
overly
just
aggressive.
yeah, like man, yeah, like I just remember like watching like their last like RMR run and it's like a
Mm-hmm.
nuke game and like Dexter's just running outside solo every round, dies through the smoke or like getting naded through the smoke or him's like walking through a smoke every round and like they go into a 4v5 and it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's not really a good way of playing. You watch them this time around, it's like, you know, they're playing off each other, they're trading, like
Mm-hmm.
he's like he just looks so good in the clutch as well. Like I saw that 1v2 against Sora and I was like, yeah, they've won it.
Mm-hmm. Also, what do you think, beating big in a BO3? Because I think this is the first time that Flyquest have been big in a BO3 in a lot of iterations, actually bringing back the good old Malta and Hats days, where they lost a grand
Uh,
final to them as well in Leipzig. How much has this done for their confidence, like, in future BO3s against Big? Because Big has always been that brick wall for them, because every single BO3, they're just like, oh, so you guys again? It's kind of like their phase, basically. They always drop down to phase or drop down to Big.
Probably done a lot for them to be honest. It's kind of like, you know, you get it done the first time and it's like every other time it's like you kind of have that
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know, like you chip off your shoulder kind of lifted.
Yeah, got of that
Yeah.
belief as well. It's like, hey, we beat them last
Yeah.
time. We embarrassed them, pulled, wedgied them, and they didn't look so
Definitely
good.
definitely a big hurdle for them.
Mm-hmm. We'll get to the next one in particular. Go back to locally, of course, as FlyQuest came back. And talk about FlyQuest in general. They beat Mind Freak today. We talk about the ESL Challenger League for season 48. And I'm going to say, end of the season. Obviously, it's not end of season yet. Obviously, you've got 3 teams still in it for the consolidation and grand final. But what do you think about the season overall and, all the teams that got in or not? Like, what were your biggest surprise packages in it? And what was your biggest, shocks that they got relegated or anything like that? For me, the biggest surprise package was KZG making playoffs. I did not see that coming. And my biggest shock was Rooster not making playoffs.
Um, yeah, I think Rooster not making playoffs is always a shock to me.
Mm.
I feel like as far as I can remember, even when they're playing, like even like during like the ban, like the ESIC bans and they play with 2 subs, like
Yep.
you'll never not see them be in playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're always like, I don't know, like the core of like Cho, ASAP and well, they don't have that third Nedic anymore, but
Yep.
like they always just carried it over the line.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the round difference is kind of sucks, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really too sure how they were running it, but like a round difference between the 2 BO ones,
Yep.
it's a bit unfortunate instead of doing it across the league.
Yep. Because I believe
Because
it
like,
was decided when KCG won 13-4. It was a 13-12 and 13-4, and KCG got over it based on that.
yeah. But I guess at the end of the day, it is like a head-to-head tiebreaker, and it's not like a
Mm.
who played better overall. It's like who played better on the day. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. I mean, I guess I wasn't really expecting KZG to make playoffs, especially with the it's like
Mm-hmm.
roster changes. I guess like
Yeah.
and they have to they're coming into the games with like a
Mm-hmm.
different playbook and like different caller.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They might have probably had role swaps as well with Zuko coming in, but
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think they were pracking much coming into those games either.
Mm-hmm.
I know Estate or Bailey was away for 2 weeks, so
Jeez.
they just pretty much plugged it.
Yeah, they
But I
did
guess at
did
the
say
same
that.
time, it's like at the same time, when you're kind of in that pug mentality, it's like it's really hard to for like a team to like I don't know, like counter any shutout or something, or like know what to expect coming in.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess at the same time, Russo are also in the same boat where it's like they're going like, they're playing with us. Slime is a new pickup. They've
Yeah.
also switched. I think they've switched calling a bit as
Yep.
well
To
this
TJP.
season.
Yep.
With the early round calling, and then they're also playing with a sub that they having to switch between events as well. So like, there's no practice there.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess that it's just who turns up.
Mm-hmm. I'll say overall as well, the ECL did another shock as well. I was a bit shocked that Arcade got relegated. I felt Arcade were a lot better than what happened on the ladder there. So that's my opinion there. I felt they were a lot better. And I was a bit shocked because I wasn't really paying attention too much to the ladder. But I was a bit shocked to some of their losses and also like what sort of hole they got themselves into. In particularly the 2-0 against, the 2-0 loss they had against Mantra. And I was just like, what? But I felt like they could have done a lot better.
I think that was a crazy shock to get sprayed by Mantra. I think that was while they had Super still as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think the later games, I guess you can't really.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty bad season from them, to be honest. Yeah, probably should have 2-0'd DXA as well. DXA being a dead team.
Kira's there with the defib, mate. Kira's just going clear.
I don't know. I don't think they had a great season last season either. I think. Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, I think that Arcade roster is probably definitely underachieving, and I think probably going to Open probably is the best way to get their confidence back into it. Also got to say overall, like, how do you think about Housebets' lower bracket run? Like, considering their shock exit from Extremes Lands and RMR, where they performed pretty not so great, and now they've got themselves now an ESL Pro League spot.
For me, it was expected, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of I think one of their strengths is definitely like, obviously they're full time. They have time for prep.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of hard to do preparation for qualifiers when you're going into them the next day and then you're only just finding out who you're playing, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't really doubt that they'd not win those games, to be honest. I think, they'd catch up eventually. Like, they just kind of build like just like an idea of how the other team plays as time goes, and it just ends up favoring them in the end. They're also versing, I think, well, other than Housebets and Flyquest, like the other 3 teams, they're all pug teams.
Yep.
I haven't seen any of them really pracking, so yeah.
Also, I was going to say another one as well to highlight is Mind Freak. Like, how do you think of their progression? Obviously, they've got Gump, they've got Pain. They added Ricky and Texas to the roster. I was a bit questioning it, being like, oh, you gave away Super and Slimy. I feel Super and Slimy, there's a lot to give. But, how do you like their performance so far? They got to the upper bracket final. They booked in their ESL Pro League spot yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know.
They got pretty close to Flyquest, even though it was a 2-0.
Yeah, like, it's not. I don't think they've. Like, I don't want to say it's like a huge improvement. I feel like they've kind of locked themselves. Personally, they can prove me wrong, but I feel like they've locked themselves in to be like a 1-season team.
Oh,
I don't know. They're
exactly my same opinion.
Exactly known. They're not known for like staying for a long-term project. I think with Slimy and Super, you had that. I think you also had like a lot of there was a lot of room for improvement with those guys, and they also came 3rd last season. So I think that was a bit drastic of a change.
Yeah, that's exactly my opinion. Like, exactly how you stated it. Is like, you've gone from a ceiling for your team, going from like 3 or 4 years in it. They can definitely improve, to about one season or 2 seasons, maybe, like a year or so. It's kind of like
I think it's
sorry, you go.
Yeah.
Talk about
No,
it.
you go. Sorry, you go.
It's kind of like complexity in a liege when they picked up a liege over, they dropped Fang for a liege. And so it's like you're shortening that time period. Obviously, Fang's a lot younger, so you got 6 or 7 years for Fang. You're shortening down to 4 or 5 years. If they were shortening down to like 1 or 2 years, I'd be like, complexity, that's a dumb trade. That's what I felt with Mindfreak. They were shortening it too much. And it wasn't like Super or Slimy were the problems in that team for Mindfreak to get to the next level. Like that wasn't the problem. That's what I felt. I felt it was more like they just needed more reps and more experience, and they'd get to that second and first place potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say for sure at the end of the day. Like, I'm not in their camp. Maybe like the players are on a limited time frame, and like maybe this is like their last kind of like hoorah, and see what they can do.
Yeah.
I mean, I qualified, so you can't really argue it was the wrong decision.
Exactly.
Whether they'll achieve anything at the events to be seen, but yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a good viewpoint. Like, if they've got an ESL Pro League spot, they got the same place as they did last year. Like, second or third regardless. You can't say they did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely. Yeah. I think it's definitely one of those things where the competition this season is just worse as well.
Do you think it's like worse overall in quality, or do you think it's better overall in quality? Because I had mixed opinions about this, because Brace said the quality has definitely gone up, but everyone has felt like the quality has gone down.
I think, I don't know, unless my ego's kicked in, and it probably has. I feel like the quality has gone down. I think that's like a big instability with all the rosters except for like I don't know. I think the only player except for like the odd 2 or 3 teams, I feel like everyone's kind of had like big roster shuffles coming into the season. It just feels like there's less teams like practicing as well, to be honest. Yeah, I think that's just it kind of showed in the season as well, where every team's kind of like everyone's taking maps off each other. It's less more in the tactical side, it feels like, and more on who turns up on the day or who turns up on the map. So especially with like MR12, like one player has good game, they can probably just carry the team over.
Yeah, but Stay has a 40k, and that KCG wins a lot.
Yeah, actually.
Yep. Yeah, because I was like thinking about it overall, because I was like thinking like Ray saying that was, I wouldn't have expected him to say that, given how much house bets had. Like they lost their star fragger and Addict, they lost their anchor and Hazard, and for him to say no, the quality of CS has gone up, I was a bit surprised. I was like, you lost like 2 of your best players in 2 of your most key positions. So I was just really surprised that he said that.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the skill gap from like Go to CS2 for like players is kind of like closed as well. So I don't know. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Because I did watch some of the games. I felt like he can definitely be right in some instances as well, but like a lot of the teams like in the top 5, they all have full out strat books now. Like there's no teams that just making it up as they go along. Like I think all the teams in particular, especially after what Kraz and Mitzi said about having to have a strat book, I think it was Blizz as well, that you needed it in ECL where you just don't live. I think Brace may have been talking about from that regards, where everyone they verse has a strat book now, and it's just hard to plan for games.
Yeah, I mean, you're never gonna win pugging.
Yeah,
I think that's a given. I think there's always pug teams that kind of gatekeep and get into the season. And then after that, it's like, that's as far as you get.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get to our next topic. Sorry, did I finish off? Sorry.
No, go for it. Nah, I was just thinking. Sorry.
Oh, good. We get to our last topic, and this one's a bit. This is to Valorant, the kids' game. Okay, so just to give everyone, obviously, I think most people know about this as well. But Chet was streaming a 6-month-old game of an NRG roster that didn't exist, that NRG had no issue with, that had comms in the game that NRG had already made content with. and Chet was banned for 6 months from VCT in regards to it. And there's been a lot of discussion around this in general, as in like the harshness of the ban. I don't think a ban of 6 months is like kind of fitting the crime in this circumstance, in particular with this one. And it also raises the other concern is, why does Valorant not have a replay system yet? Like, I just don't get this ban, to be honest, because it's kind of a no harm, no foul kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, definitely harsh. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I think all those players, orgs, coaches, obviously, like, they're all under contracts with Riot in
Yeah.
terms of terms and conditions, as far as I'm aware. And I guess if you breach it, like, there's consequences. I want to say someone's probably secretly dobbed him in, possibly as well.
Yeah.
But it is a bit crazy that, you know, it's not like it was hidden tech. You know, it's like 6 months. I think only one player was still on the active roster or something as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's completely different roster. I think content videos was made for it as well, and yeah, it's a bit crazy.
Yeah, because I guess overall, because with Valorant and CS2 being very close together, I was a bit kind of surprised, because you always had the jokes of ESL doing absolutely blunders and not sticking to decisions and whatnot. And then Riot's like, hold my beer, let me do my thing. And I'm just like, guys, do you not realize how stupid this is? Like, it's just so strange, because you're banning someone who's creating content for your game in a good way, to give like some understanding to people out there on how like the game's built and whatnot, and the other team doesn't care about it because like, yeah, it's old tactics. It just confuses me greatly, because like, I'll love it if like a total tier 1 pro coach starts streaming, gets permission from the other guys and whatnot. It's like, here's how we operate, here's what we're thinking about, here's our philosophy, and it really delivers a good insight to like everyone involved on what's really needed to lift up that extra level.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say to it. It's
Yeah.
just pretty. It's like a very tight ship that they run. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it in terms of like promoting the game, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, they're like pretty successful, so it's like you can't really argue with it.
Mm. I just think overall, like, that's just it's just incredible. Like, it's absolutely incredible. Like, I'll never dream I would see a worse decision than the 40% packet loss nip made by an admin. And in the last 2 years or so, I've seen fucking garbage decisions made, from both ESIC and from now Riot. And I'm just like sitting there like, guys, do you guys understand esports and how it works? And let's just say, for example, given Valorant's had match fixes in the scene now as well, that haven't been proven yet, but it's heavily slanted that they did in the NA scene, and they've had some real stuffed up out of scene behavior by certain players. But you literally go harsh on this one guy who did it once, no one cared, no harm, no foul, and you go in full balls to walls. It's kind of like the ESIC bans on the Australian players who betted on a game that wasn't in the AU scene. It's just like, why are you going with the full 1 year bans, treating like they did everything wrong, and then, with the NA guys, you're just like, oh, they're allowed to do whatever they want.
Yeah, I don't know. Was
Yeah.
it 1 year? I thought it was 6 months for him.
No, 1 year for the AU players that were betting on US and EU games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's kind of deserved. Anyone who's betting on their own games.
No, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. AU players betting on NA and EU games. They wasn't their own
And
games.
EU games.
Yeah,
Right.
their own games were 2 years. Like, if you bet on yourself to win, but aggressively
Yeah.
betting against yourself to lose was 5 years. And I think there's only 5 people that fit in that 2 to 5 year category.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like how when they rolled out the ESIC bans for CS,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know, it's a very grey line. Like, there were open players just getting getting bans like for betting on like ECL games, for example, and it's like I guess it could be insider info because you're scrimming the teams, like you'll actually watch. So you technically have insider info compared to other people, but yeah, I don't know if I'd agree with it.
Yeah, I feel overall like with these sort of bans, particularly like game developers and tournament organizers, they've like, yes, I know there's rules, but it's also how you apply the punishments and whatnot. Like, you got to consider the facts of each case. There's a law and the facts, and this one in particularly just was like, nah, let's give them the harshest penalty possible. While like other sort of things that should be banned for the harshest penalty possible, you're just like, oh no, we're just conveniently blind and can't see or whatever. I feel overall like esports integrity, especially Riot as well, need to be a bit smarter in this area. Like, Riot were very good on the gambling bans in the AU scene for Valorant. Like, very, very good. They stated what areas and whatnot, and they put it to the facts, etc, like stuff like that as well. Like, people who legitimately didn't know and were newish to the scene, they got a less harsher penalty. People who were well known in the scene for a while, they got a harsh penalty because they should know better. But this one just screams like, what the fuck are you doing, kind of thing. Like, how can you go from this to this?
Yeah, I mean, the only way you can really, you just have to have an external party, neutral party that you can trust, but finding that is probably pretty difficult, put it that way.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree. Like, especially after like E6 antics in particular, like being invisible at some areas and being incredibly visible at others, and being inconsistent and just folding at the side of a lawyer has really lost them a lot of credit. And I think I talked to this about Ruffleco about not Ruffleco, it wasn't Ruffleco, said it was someone else I talked about it with. Whether should they just salvage the entire, like, get rid of the entire thing or salvage it. And one of the points was you kind of got rid of it because it's still got that stench where like Hunden hires a lawyer and they just folded pretty much. They just gave him his stuff back. And also the other thing as well with not telling anyone that Finn got unbanned with Paravision.
Yeah, if we're talking about ESIC,
yeah,
I would not fucking ever trust those guys.
Yeah,
I think having anyone having to pay $500 just to open up like a review for a ban is like crazy. Especially for like, I don't know, just regional teams like AU players and stuff.
Yeah,
I think that was pretty wild.
I'm probably going to close it off here because I was going to mention as well the entire handling of Tam's case in particular, because Tam learned as his appeal was unsuccessful from HLTV confirmed, which is grossly unprofessional.
I don't even know who Tam is. Is that
Sam,
CS?
Sam, THAM.
THAM. Oh, Tham. Sorry.
Yeah, Tham. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with their cases, so I didn't really look into that stuff too much.
He had appealed, and basically, I forget the commissioner's name. The commissioner said, "Oh yeah, all the appeals can be dismissed." That's how we learned how his appeal wasn't successful from HLTV confirmed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the moment anyone like actually decided to press the issue, it's like they kind of just folded instantly.
Yeah. And yeah, I felt overall like with Integrity Arms and esports, it's kind of like the esports scene in general. Like, I feel esports has grown way too quickly, and it hasn't had time to put the necessary scaffolding or the necessary foundations to make sure that the building at the end of the day stands up. Because like with ESIC in particular, and now with like Riot, like you can just like push one pipe down and the rest of it just falls over. It's like a house of cards.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I don't have too much on this topic.
Yeah. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much gonna be it for today. We could. Do you want to discuss the recent RMR changes? Do you want to go for a free for all on that one? With the, if you didn't know about the RMR changes, a certain team has Anselm is no longer playing, who was from the Middle East, So
Yeah, I saw that.
So
I think
Saneri has come in, which is a Kosovan player, to replace the Middle Eastern player. Now they have two Middle Eastern players. I
think it's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think the technicality they've got is that one of the EU players,
That's including Haji, by the
Haji,
way. That's including Haji being Moroccan.
Yeah, because he has a passport for I don't know, a country that can compete in Asia. He's classed as a course
Oh,
free for that region.
No. I'm already including him. They have 3 EU players, even with Haji being Moroccan. Haji's from Morocco.
Yeah, and then with scenario that makes it 4 EU players.
No, it makes it 3 EU players.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it's a bit weird that you're going to an Asian tournament and suddenly you're versing an EU oriented team.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit crazy. It's a bit dirty, to be honest, but
yeah,
whatever it takes, I guess.
I was thinking at the time, because I discussed this. This is a topic I actually did discuss with Rufflecoat and James. I was like, are they going to put roster restrictions on this? Because at the moment, like, their top 4 teams for the Middle East were all 2 EU teams, like 2 EU players. All of them, like all top 4 teams. And then the sub rule being abused in such a way where they're trying to get a third EU player in. I'm wondering when they're going to clamp down on it, where, like, the sub player that comes in has to be from the same region. Because otherwise you can just have, like, you know, a token Middle Eastern player in there, and then when the major comes in, you sub in your third EU, and that's your core.
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing is I think they're going to qualify as well. Just looking at their bracket run.
Well,
unfortunate.
Overall, like that, like I don't think they're going to qualify 100%, because you got one team from that Flyquest and Red Atom area that's going to drop into the lower bracket, and I don't think Drillas are beating Mongols because they're in the Mongols bracket.
Well, you have to assume Mongols and Flyquest will win their 2 games.
Yeah,
I think that qualifies them, and then it's between. They'll probably have to. I don't even know if they'd beat Lin Vision.
Yeah, like
assuming they do, they'll have to verse Ray Adams in the lower bracket and then reverse Lin Vision probably.
It's like a goddamn brawl. I'm gonna say, like, the moment you fall to the lower bracket, it's just like an all-on fight in the RMRs.
Yeah, definitely a lot more games you have to play.
Yeah. But yeah, anyways, I'll probably dedicate more time to next week on this topic once we dive into it, because obviously there's going to be more unfolding out of this, because I think it's barely about 2 days old. But yeah, you know, thanks for coming on and getting to know more about you and your CS career, and also Fortnite as well. Really, really helpful. And also getting some takes on, like, you know, how RGLing works, what to build and whatnot as well, and the challenges that you've sought, you know, so far in your career as well, and also being a young RGL as well.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
No worries. And I hope you have a great evening, dude. And everyone in chat, if you guys want to follow Mingovi, do you want to shout out your Twitter? Or do you want to shout out your Twitch as well?
Twitter's not the most active. It's just Mingovi and then QT with the letters at the end.
Okay. And stream, you want to shout that out as well?
That's very dead. Do not have time for that, so
do you even have a VOD of your best Fortnite kills?
I got some highlights on YouTube. Feel free to check that out.
What's the YouTube?
I think it's just Mingovi.
You got Mingovi everywhere? Actually, you know, this is a real question, okay? How did you come up with the name Mingovi? Did you just put like Ming and then Ovi at the end, or does the Ovi stand for something?
I mean, Ming is my name.
Yep.
If people don't know. And then I used to play a lot of Rocket League with some of my IRLs.
Yep.
There used to be a pro player called Chronovi.
Yep.
So then we used to just joke to each other by adding the Ovi at the end, and then I kind of just stuck with it.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
So yeah, that's the law for that.
Definitely did not know that in particular. Anyways, thanks for coming on, dude. And hope you have a great evening, and hope everyone else in chat has a great evening as well. Make sure you follow Mingovi in the links below. And if you enjoy this podcast particularly, you can like, comment, subscribe. You can watch this anywhere, YouTube, Spotify, whenever I upload it, and stuff like that as well. Anyways, guys, see you guys later. Have a good one. Peace out. Bye-bye.